Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Patmos. It is October 20th, 2025, and this is another video from my series in Just the Facts Exposed on Substack. So I got a little triggered earlier today when once again Robert Kennedy and Steve Kirsch and a few of these other fake science experts made the claim that people should do their own research. Well, folks, I apologize if I sound a little arrogant on this one, but too bad. I have bad news for you. You can't do your own research. Well, I can say that you can do it, but the likelihood that you will be able to correctly interpret the medical literature is near zero. Robert Kennedy, Steve Kirsch, all these other people out there don't have the training to be able to read and interpret the medical literature correctly. And why is that? What does it take to be able to do your own research in clinical medicine? Well, first of all, you have to have a strong basic science background, chemistry, biology, physics. You have to have a strong clinical science background, anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, pathology, microbiology, etc. You have to have a strong clinical training in internal medicine or surgery or pediatrics. And you also have to have postgraduate medical education, wherein you will take a course called Critical Appraisal of the Medical Literature. Critical appraisal is now required by the Liaison Committee on Graduate Medical Education in all certified, credentialed, accredited residency programs, at least since the early 2000s. Now, for physicians of my generation, we trained before they had critical appraisal, so older doctors aren't aware of this. But because I've spent most of my life in medical education, I took critical appraisal training in the early 2000s. And without critical appraisal, unless you understand and have a deep understanding of what critical appraisal of the medical literature involves, I got bad news for you. You can't do your own research. All you can do is gather studies, read them superficially, reading the abstract to see whether or not they agree with your preconceived bias. That's what you're really doing. That's what Robert Kennedy does. Robert Kennedy has in his head what he thinks the truth is, and then he goes out and he finds studies that support what he thinks the truth is. He doesn't have the skill set to be able to read these studies and decide, is this a good study? Is it flawed? If so, where are the flaws? These studies nowadays are so complicated that it takes specialized training to simply be able to read them and understand them. What kinds of things are in critical appraisal? Well, I got news for you. If you don't understand random sequence generation, selection bias, allocation bias, blinding, performance and detection bias, incomplete outcomes, reporting bias, baseline characteristics, reporting quality and transparency, external validation, statistical power and sample size, relevance and feasibility, data analysis, and intention to treat analysis, among many, many more concepts in evidence based medicine and in critical appraisal. Unless you know these concepts inside and out, backwards and forwards, you can't do your own research. All you will do is find articles that sound like what you think the truth is. That's the problem we have nowadays. We have a lot of people who are not trained in critical appraisal, who are now in positions of power and reading studies that are junk studies. They can't tell what's junk because they don't have the training in it. And then they come out and they make these statements, and we have policy now based on poor science. Let me give you one really graphic example. I'm sure you've heard of the Great Barrington Declaration. That is a study that was published by the Brownstein Foundation Brownstein Institute that was authored by Jay Bhattacharya, who's an economist with an MD degree, now serving as the director of the National Institutes of Health. Well, the Great Barrington Declaration doesn't pass muster for critical appraisal. You know why? It has no bibliography. It has no references. There's no statistical analysis. There's no external validation. Dr. Bhattacharya just and his colleagues, Dr. Kaldorf and Dr. Gupta, just made stuff up and wrote it down as if it's fact. If you have critical appraisal skills, you look at the Great Barrington Declaration, you say, this isn't even something that would pass a sixth grade science class, let alone be held up as the standard for how we're now going to approach, treating pandemics. So in any case, that's my rant for today. I hate to rant, but I got to tell you is that you just if you've been told do your own research and you think that's what you're doing by looking at Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is now, X, I don't look at either, or Instagram to get your information. If you think that's doing your own research, you're just deluded. Have a great evening.